asking you nicely to leave. I think it's reasonable to give you an appropriate time in which to do that. So we're going to go away, and what we'd like to do, we'll come back in 10 minutes and we'd like you to have left, all right? We're asking you nicely to leave because you're causing people distress. I imagine that the reason why you're recording, auditing purposes is sometimes what people say. I don't know, you don't have to tell me why you're recording. My objection to you being on the premises is that it's causing members of staff distress.
Distress. I'll be careful with words like distress because there are very certain thresholds for distress.
Yeah,
be very careful with the words that you use.
I'm not insinuating that you've crossed the threshold into the criminal.
Right. Arena. So be very, very careful with words that you throw around. When you're acting as a police officer and you throw words around like distress, you could then be implying and accusing me of causing alarm, harassment, and distress.
Yeah, but I would have been explicit.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. You need to just.
Hey everyone. Welcome back to the channel where we break down real police encounters and show why understanding your rights matters. Today's clip comes from Power to the Proletariat, one of the well-known auditing channels in the UK. Their channel link is in the description, so make sure to check them out and show some support. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our next breakdown. What begins as a quiet filming session quickly turns into officers trying to persuade the auditor to leave police property, but instead of becoming confrontational, he stays calm, refers to Article 10 and the relevant policies, and asks the officers to explain the actual basis for their demands. Let's get straight into the footage, because this encounter becomes tense very quickly.
I'm asking you nicely to leave. I think it's reasonable to give you an appropriate time in which to do that. So we're going to go away, and what we'd like to do, we'll come back in 10 minutes and we'd like you to have left, all right? And you can read that, you can listen to that back later in your headphones, all right?
Sure, what was that last bit?
You can listen to, have you recorded it, so you can listen to it back?
I don't want to listen to it back, so I'm going to continue recording.
Okay, well, do you want to talk to me now? You're taking your headphones out.
Go on.
So, we're coming to speak to you because we've had a report that you're taking photographs of police vehicles and people's private vehicles that are leaving the police premises, all right? So, that's caused people concern. So that's why we've come to speak to you. You're not committing a crime. You're able to take photographs, although there is a sign that says that it's not permitted to take photographs.
I have written permission.
Who from?
Human Rights Act.
No, that isn't applicable in these circumstances.
Why not?
Because it's private property. Okay?
Right.
So is
this not a publicly accessible area of that private property?
Yeah, but
the Human Rights Act does apply, and my freedom of expression does apply here.
You asked me a question. Do you want me to answer?
Well, yeah. Well, if you're going to give a sensible one.
Yeah. So the implied permission is for you to access reception and make inquiries. That's why we've come to check if you're all right. The permission.
No, you came over because that woman. You came over because that woman went and told you that I'm here.
Yes.
Not to check that I'm okay.
Well, she was concerned. That's why we've come to speak to you. But obviously, like the right to the access to the premises is for people to come and speak at reception. Yeah?
Right.
And we can withdraw that permission. Okay. So we're asking you nicely to leave because you're causing people distress. I imagine that the reason why you're recording, auditing purposes is sometimes what people say. I don't know. You don't have to tell me why you're recording, but obviously that's why we just want you to leave because you're causing members of staff distress.
Are you asking me to leave purely because I'm recording?
Because you're causing members of staff distress.
By recording?
Yes. Yeah.
So because I'm recording, I have to leave the property?
Well, unless you have another reason why you want to be here, which you haven't, you could tell me about. If there's a legitimate reason why you need to be on site, then you can tell me that. Okay. What is the reason?
I don't have to explain my reasons to you, and that's the issue, isn't it?
Because you're not telling me that reason.
Yeah, but under Article 8, I do have the right to privacy. So what you're doing is hang on, let me finish. I've just listened to him spiel out all of that, so let me.
That exchange shows how quickly the reasoning behind an officer's request can change to T first. The officer presents the interaction as a welfare concern. Then the focus shifts towards staff discomfort and a short deadline for the auditor to leave. The tone remains polite, but the pressure becomes increasingly clear. The auditor stays calm and keeps asking what actual rule or power requires him to stop filming. Eventually, the officer acknowledges that the filming itself is not a criminal offence. That's an important distinction. If the concern is staff discomfort rather than an actual offence, the legal basis for forcing someone to stop or leave needs to be clearly established. Being polite doesn't turn a request into a lawful requirement. The lesson is simple. Stay calm, separate a request from a legal order, and ask what authority is being relied upon. You don't need to become aggressive to challenge an unclear demand.
So what you're now doing is saying that I have to leave because I'm exercising Article 10 of my human rights, freedom of expression, which covers digital expression, which includes the right to film and disseminate information. And because I'm doing that, you're asking me to leave. So what you're doing I'll let you finish, right? I'm in a publicly accessible area of private property. I haven't gone, well, actually I did go past that, but I'm not past that now.
Yeah.
I'm in the publicly accessible area. It says it's publicly accessible up to the reception point. It doesn't say on the sign only to access. It says on the sign, it doesn't matter. That's not what it says.
I'd say it's implied,
it doesn't matter.
That's fine,
it doesn't matter. We don't go by implied. So I'm in a publicly accessible area exercising Article 10. I'm being asked to leave purely because I'm exercising Article 10, which puts you in violation of Article 14, which guarantees me the freedom from discrimination while exercising my human rights. And because I won't give you my legitimate reason, which, again, I have the right to privacy, I have the right to my private thoughts, I have the right to my privacy. And because I won't give you my reasons, can you stand up and be professional if you're going to address me as a police officer? And was I talking to you? I was talking to him.
I don't have to stand up. I can sit down. That's fine.
Well, then I'm just going to put my headphones back in and ignore you again.
We can have a conversation.
Right, there we go.
Stand up.
Thank you.
Look,
right, if you're going to act as a police officer, act professional.
Let me give you a scenario, right? So let's say you go into Tesco's, which you would agree is publicly accessible for people to go shopping, yeah? For that purpose, would you agree in that?
Yeah.
And you did something in Tesco's,
I can walk into Tesco to browse. I don't have to walk in there to shop.
Yeah.
I can walk in here to browse.
But let's say you did something in there that's causing people to feel uncomfortable and causing.
If there was a lawful basis for why I was causing them discomfort, then yes.
No. Where I disagree is whatever that is that you're causing people to feel uncomfortable, even if it was completely lawful, I would say that they've got the right to ask you to leave. And that's what we're doing. You can go onto the sort of out of the problem.
So what if I stand there?
I think that would be fine. Yeah.
So what's the difference? So what's the difference between standing here and recording and there recording? Pardon? Is it illegal to raise my voice?
No, but it's unnecessary. Yeah.
Well, it's unnecessary for you to come and accost me, to be honest. Well, you've just said I can stand there and record, but I can't sit here and record.
This is private
but there's no difference. There's no difference in the action, is there? It's still going to make them uncomfortable. So what's the difference?
I can't do anything about it. All I can do is ask you to leave the public.
Yeah, and that's where you can. Yeah, you can ask me, and I'll politely decline.
Things changed once the auditor stopped trying to defend himself and started asking the officers to explain their own position. The officer continued asking for a legitimate reason for filming and tried to frame the activity as something causing discomfort. He also appeared to expect the auditor to simply accept the request because it was coming from police. Instead, the auditor remained seated, stayed calm, and focused on the distinction between lawful filming and an obligation to justify his actions. Notice how effective that approach was. He didn't need to raise his voice. He simply kept asking the officers to explain what authority they were relying on. Eventually, the officer acknowledged that all he could do was ask. That admission changes the situation completely. A request is different from a lawful requirement, and understanding that distinction helps prevent pressure from being mistaken for authority. The takeaway is simple. Stay respectful, know where the legal boundary lies, and ask officials to clearly explain the power behind their demands.
Is to try, over and above protecting the public and enforcing the law, is to try and if somebody's made to feel uncomfortable, is to try and address that and sort it out.
Right.
So that's what I've tried to do in this situation.
Okay.
If you just, we're going to go away now, and I've said I'd like to leave our property.
Right.
And I've given you a reasonable time of 10 minutes to do that. So we're going to leave now.
Okay. And what if I don't? What if I'm still here in 10 minutes?
Well, it's a civil matter, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we'll have to make a decision about how we want to deal with that.
And how would you? And what would you do?
I don't know. I haven't thought about it yet. But I'm asking you nicely to leave.
And if I politely decline?
Well, I'll make a decision about what I'm going to do, but I'm not going to tell you what that decision is, just as you don't have to tell me anything. I don't have to tell you what's going on in my brain. All right?
He's not happy at all. Look at him on the phone, on the fucking, radios people, asking for assistance. He ain't happy at all.
We're not asking for assistance, we're just
He literally just said, have you got when he first went on the radio, have you got a unit here? I've got a mail, whatever, and then you were talking, I didn't hear the rest of it. But he was asking for assistance.
Okay.
I was like, I think it's pathetic. I'm here with a camera, not a fucking shotgun. Okay. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous.
What I will say is there do you need assistance from the police for anything?
Glass of water would be grand.
Okay, I can't give you.
I've got a plastic glass. All I need is some water in it.
Okay, well,
why not? Last police station I went to did. That's quite rude. Okay, you know what? I've always had high expectations and high hopes for Cambridgeshire Constabulary, and I've had really positive interactions even last time I came here, strong positive interaction. I even wrote an email to the Chief Constable commending PC406 Chris, whatever his name was, and gave him a glowing commendation for his attitude and how he spoke to me in the conversation that we had.
Yeah.
He took me in and showed me around the vehicles. You guys are just full of shit.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
Well, you are.
I'm reasonable.
Oh, well, you can think what you want.
Right, anyway.
We'll see what the comments say about it.
Yeah, I've said what I want to say. My objection to you being on the premises is that it's causing members of staff distress.
Distress. I'll be careful with words like distress because there are very certain thresholds for distress.
Yeah, and
be very careful with the words that you use.
I'm not insinuating that you've crossed the threshold into the criminal.
Right.
arena.
So be very, very careful with words that you throw around. When you're acting as a police officer and you throw words around like distress, you could then be implying and accusing me of causing alarm, harassment, and distress.
Yeah, but I would have been explicit.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. You need to. Sorry about that.
Sorry about stepping on your foot.
That's fine.
All right.
What just played out is exactly why
What just played out shows why understanding the difference between a legal power and a simple request matters. The officer first tries to justify removing the auditor by referring to staff concerns and discomfort. But when pressed on the actual legal position, the officer acknowledges that the matter is civil. That admission changes the conversation. The auditor doesn't become aggressive or start arguing. Instead, he asks the officer to explain what consequences could legally follow and what authority would allow him to be removed. As the questions become more precise, the officer's position becomes less certain. The language shifts from firm instructions toward requests, showing how important it is to separate actual legal powers from informal pressure. The lesson is straightforward. When an authority figure cannot clearly identify an offense or the power being used, stay calm and ask specific questions rather than reacting emotionally.
All right.
Well, I've asked one of our uniformed colleagues to come and speak to you, just to see if you engage differently with somebody who's more identifiable as a police officer. I've spoken to PC137 and advised him that we have asked you to leave the curtilage of what we deem to be the private property, and we're giving you reasonable time in which to do that. And I'll just reiterate that the reason why we've asked you to leave is because we've had complaints that your behaviour is making people feel uncomfortable. Notice I've rephrased it there that I'm not using the word distress, which you took a perception to, and I wouldn't. That's not what's been reported. It's made people feel uncomfortable.
Okay. So now your job is for 3 constables to stand around and try to enforce people's discomfort and feelings over the law.
I've explained. I'm going to go now.
You're going to go.
If you feel uncomfortable about 3 people being here, that's fine. And
it doesn't matter if there are 10 people here.
We're trying a different approach to see whether that's
PC
agreeable with you.
137. PC137. I'll suggest you get in your car and drive away. You're not going to get any more response out of me than they are.
That's absolutely fine.
The uniform does not intimidate me any more than your plainclothes does. Oh, is it not? No. That's funny.
People feel more comfortable.
Yeah. Funny that, because the psychology behind it says different. If you actually look at Ash's studies from the 70s, his studies on compliance and uniform actually state the opposite.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I'm actually a psychologist. So
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, like you said, you sort of intimated that you took exception to there being three police officers here. So I'm going to leave because
go for it. You do what you want to do.
More to say to you, but yeah, we'll leave you in colleagues' capable hands. All right.
I love that. Detective sergeant's got to get a PC to handle his dirty work.
Look, I just want to make you as comfortable as possible. So I'll introduce myself as PC137. I've had no idea as to what this incident is about. What's going on here?
Well, I'm sure they've just informed you of that over at the car when you were stood there talking for 10 minutes.
Well, I've got a rough idea, but I'd like to hear it from you. As I say, I'm completely unbiased.
I'm here minding my own business and I come and get accosted by 2 constables.
Okay. Any reason police station compared to anywhere else?
Because we pay for it and I can.
Okay, that's fair enough. It is a public property, isn't it?
Thank you very much. If only they knew that.
What I'll say is that obviously the inquiry office isn't open. So
yeah, I know. I already tried to go in there. Yeah.
Have a chat. They do close at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
I just want to make you aware that I'm not suggesting that you will at all, but certainly we have had cars damaged here in the past, and that's why when we see somebody sat here with a camera, just sometimes people don't have as good intentions as yourself. Okay. So
do you stop everybody with a camera in any place in the country then, just because they got a camera? Because cars get damaged all over the country, not just here.
Particularly because we work in a role where a lot of people don't necessarily.
I wouldn't bring your vehicle to work then if you're that worried about it.
But obviously we've got to get here somehow.
Yeah, you can cycle it. Okay. You can get public transport.
Okay.
You can get public, if you don't live in Huntingdon, you can get public transport to Huntingdon and then walk or cycle it.
Absolutely.
There are options. You know, if you're that uncomfortable and that concerned about your vehicles at your place of work because of the role that you do, and the mitigating factor is the fact that you know the risks of the role that you take when you sign up for the job.
Yeah.
That onus is on.
Watch what happens when preparation meets authority. The plainclothes officers bring in a uniformed constable, apparently hoping that the presence of another officer will make the auditor more willing to comply. But the auditor immediately questions the tactic and refuses to treat the uniform itself as proof of greater legal authority. Notice the difference between *** appearance and actual power ***. A uniform may identify an officer, but it doesn't automatically create new legal powers or change the circumstances of an encounter. The auditor stays calm and focuses on the real issue. What authority exists and what action can lawfully be taken? The additional officer may increase the pressure, but it doesn't answer those questions. The same legal standards still applied. That's the key lesson here. Don't confuse the number of officers present with the strength of the legal position. Stay measured, listen carefully, and ask for the specific basis for any demand.
What is that?
Do you have any further plans this evening? Is that something you want?
Why, you want to take me for dinner?
No, not at all.
No?
I'm just generally trying.
I won't eat you out of house and home.
Oh, really?
No.
I promise you,
Just some Mackies will do me.
No worries. Are you planning on being here long at all?
As long as it takes.
As long as it takes to what though? What is your intention?
Finish my objectives.
And what is your objectives out of interest?
Private.
No, it might be private. I'm interested.
Yeah.
You've definitely got obviously my interest right now, so I just want to know what your objectives are.
Fair enough. And you're allowed to have those interests.
Have you got friends coming to join with you with your objectives, or?
Sorry, I've seen a bug go down my top. Oh. Sorry.
You got any friends coming down to join you? Or anything
No, I don't have any friends. Billy no mates me.
Oh,
I know, it's sad, isn't it? You want to be my mate?
I don't know. Yeah.
No.
Didn't
think so.
If I'm honest, I've got so many friends. I'm not really in the market for anymore.
Fair enough.
So,
do you mind me asking? Is this one of the Audit in Britain sort of style videos? Is this, I'm not suggesting you are at all, just out of curiosity, because we know that there are auditors about. I'm just trying to gain what your kind of objective is.
It might put our mind at ease.
Well,
you ain't here to cause any problems within our grounds.
Again, my objectives are private, and I will stick to the fact that I have the human right to my private thoughts and my private home and family life, and I will stick with that.
What I would say is that camera's obviously pointing in the general direction of where our vehicles, personal and police, going in and out. Obviously, you're aware that there are traffic cars which come out of here pretty speedily. We wouldn't want you to be around and potentially get hurt.
Oh, so I'm decided a wooden barrier. I actually like that you've got this. This wasn't here last time I came. This whole footpath wasn't there. I had to walk along the road, so I like that you've included this.
What I would say as well is the officers, my colleagues who are very good at their job, have tried to be polite, and they've just asked that in a reasonable time frame, about 10 minutes, you just go towards the outsides of the site. Now, what I would suggest, as somebody who, I haven't looked at all the planning permissions and the exact boundaries of this building, I don't work at this station, but I would generally say probably up to that fence line up there, and probably up to where that give way line is, would probably be a rough area, I would say, is HQ. So when you move on, if you could just move on outside of that, it would make us feel more comfortable.
I would say, quite honestly, with the PC137, that these double yellow lines are indicative of something that the council have instilled. Double yellow lines don't typically tend to be put on private property, so I would say probably up to where the double yellow line stop is where I would be absolutely fine to be accessible and be classed as public property.
What just happened is a good example of how a tense encounter can shift into casual conversation. The officer begins asking about dinner, friends, plans, and other everyday details. On the surface, these questions sound harmless, but they also encourage the auditor to explain why he is there and what he intends to do. Instead of giving detailed answers, the auditor keeps things light and uses humour to avoid volunteering information. When the officer presses further, the auditor refers to his human rights and brings the conversation back to the legal issue. The officer eventually acknowledges that the request is simply a request. That distinction matters because a friendly question doesn't automatically create an obligation to answer. The main lesson is simple. ***, stay polite, don't volunteer unnecessary personal information, and understand when a question is voluntary versus when a lawful power requires an answer. ***.